For 10 years, Clara Mallister ran from a lie that destroyed her name, from a town that called her cursed, from the terrifying possibility that she might actually deserve to be happy. She thought saving a half-dead stranger in a field was just the right thing to do. She had no idea it would be the last time she ever had to run. But first, it was going to get so much worse before it got better. Running from your past only stops when you find something worth running toward. Clara's story is proof that it exists, and that you're allowed to want it. This channel is where cowboys have scars you can't see, where love is the most dangerous gamble of all, and where the truest kind of strength looks a lot like mercy. Subscribe so you never miss a story. This content was carefully researched, developed, and manually edited by our team to deliver meaningful stories with valuable life lessons. Every narrative is crafted to entertain, inspire, and empower our audience. Thank you for being part of our community.
The sun was already showing its mean streak when Clara stumbled upon him. She was out by the creek gathering sage when she saw the horse first. It was dead, its legs tangled up wrong and its neck at an angle that soured her stomach. Then she spotted the man lying face down in the tall, dry grass. His shirt was soaked with something that was not sweat. Her basket hit the ground as she ran to him. "Mister?" She knelt down, her hands hovering over him. "Can you hear me, mister?" Not a sound. She felt for a pulse. It was faint, but it was there. She carefully rolled him over, and her breath caught in her throat. So much blood. A deep, ugly gash ran across his ribs, already drawing flies. His lips were cracked, and his skin felt like a furnace right through his shirt. "Lord have mercy," she whispered, looking at the empty prairie all around her. There was no help coming. It was just her. Clara hooked her arms under his shoulders and pulled. He let out a groan but stayed unconscious. She pulled harder, dragging him toward the slim shadow of a cottonwood tree. "You are not dying out here," she told him through clenched teeth. "Not while I am here." It was a 3-hour ordeal to get him to her small cabin, a miserable cycle of dragging and resting. By the time she got him to her door, he was mumbling about a woman named Margaret, saying he was sorry over and over. Clara kicked her door open and hauled him inside. The cabin was tiny, just a cot and a fireplace, but it was cool and safe. She laid him on her bed and started working on that wound. It looked like someone had used a knife on him, then left him for the buzzards. Her mama had taught her about healing back in Boston, before their world fell apart. She knew what to do. She boiled some water and tore up her last good petticoat for bandages. "This is going to hurt," she warned the unconscious man. "I am sorry." As the needle went in, his eyes flew open and he grabbed her wrist. "Who?" he rasped, his eyes wild with confusion. "Where am I?" "Easy now," Clara said, keeping her voice steady. "You are safe. I am trying to help you." "My horse," he mumbled, "is dead. I am sorry." He tried to get up but collapsed back, his face turning pale with pain. "You lie still," Clara commanded. "You move around and you will bleed out right here on my floor. Is that what you want?" He just stared at her, and in that moment, she saw him decide to trust her. "Who did this to you?" she asked, her needle moving again. "Do not know," he whispered. "3 men with masks. They took everything. Left you to die then. Reckon so." She tied off the final stitch. "You have a name? Samuel Brennan." "Well, Samuel Brennan, I am Clara, and you are going to live whether you want to or not." That night, the fever took hold, something fierce. Clara stayed right by his side, cooling his head with a wet cloth and trying to get water into him. In his delirium, he called out for Margaret, and for another name, Lily. That name seemed to break his voice every single time. "I should have been there," he mumbled. "I should have been home." Clara did not ask questions. Out here, everyone had ghosts they were running from, including her. Around midnight, his fever spiked, and he started shaking violently. The cabin was warm, but his teeth were chattering. Clara did something she knew was scandalous. She climbed onto the cot and wrapped her own body around his, trying to share her warmth. "Stay with me," she whispered into his hair. "I did not drag you 3 miles through that heat just for you to give up now." After a long while, the shaking began to ease. The fever held, but it did not climb any higher. Clara stayed right there, holding a stranger in the dark until his heartbeat found a steady rhythm. 3 days crawled by. Clara barely left his side, feeding him broth and changing his bandages. She talked to him, telling him about her herb garden and the little creek behind her cabin. She did not talk about Boston or why she had run away. On the third morning, the fever finally broke. She had dozed off in her chair when she heard him stir. She looked up and found him just watching her. "You are awake," she said. "So are you," he answered, his voice scratchy but stronger. "How long?" "3 days since I found you." He tried to sit up and she helped him. "You have been here this whole time? I do not have anywhere else to be." Samuel looked around the little cabin. His eyes landed on the cot. "That is your bed." "It is." "Where have you been sleeping?" "The chair is fine," Clara said with a shrug. He looked at her like she was crazy. "You gave up your bed for 3 days for a complete stranger. You were dying." Comfort did not seem too important. Samuel was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was thick with emotion. "I have nothing to pay you with. They took it all. I did not ask for payment." "Why?" The question sounded almost angry. "Why would you do all this? You do not know me. I could be anyone. I could be a killer." "Why?" "Because you needed help," Clara said, turning toward the fireplace. "Because I could not just leave you out there." She paused, her back still to him. "Because a long time ago I needed help, and nobody came for me." The silence in the room was heavy. "Clara," he said, and his voice was full of something other than fever. "Thank you." Those 2 words made her throat feel tight. "Are you hungry?" she asked, changing the subject. "I have got some broth." "I could eat the whole rabbit," he said, a faint smile on his face. "Let us just start with the broth," she replied, smiling back. By the 5th day, Samuel was sitting up on his own. By the 6th, he was taking a few shaky steps, a stubborn man if she had ever seen one. "You are going to bust those stitches open," she warned him. "I have been laid up too long." "You have been nearly dead too long," she corrected. "There is a difference." He shot her a look that was hard to read. "Where are your people?" Clara asked him. "Somebody must be looking for you." "I do not have any kin, not any more. My wife passed on 5 years ago. I am sorry." "Do not be. It was not your fault." Clara knew that tone of voice. It was the sound of a door closing on the past. "I have a small ranch," Samuel said after a bit. "About 3 miles outside of Copper Springs. Not much, but it is all mine." Copper Springs. Clara's hands froze over the herbs she was bundling. "Is that where you were headed? It is home." She did not say anything, but Samuel was watching her closely. "You know the town," he said. "I know it. Have you ever been there?" Clara's jaw set hard. "Once or twice." The way she said it made him straighten up. "They give you trouble there. Folks cause trouble for anyone they do not understand," she said, tying the bundle of sage tighter than it needed to be. "I keep to myself, and they keep to theirs. It works." But he could see the lie in her tense shoulders and the way she avoided his eyes. "What is it they say about you, Clara?" "It does not matter." "I said it does not matter." She stood up so fast the herbs scattered. "You need your rest. Tomorrow is going to be a long day. What is happening tomorrow?" She just stood at the door, silent. "Have you ever been judged for something you did not do? Pushed aside, called names, and made to feel like an outcast?" Clara Mallister knew that feeling down to her bones. That is why she nearly left a dying man in a field. But her heart was just too good. This story shows how a single act of kindness can fix what is broken, and reminds us all to never judge folks by how they look. Stick with us to see how the woman they called a witch finds her own kind of justice. After patching him up, she told Samuel, "Tomorrow, you will be strong enough to ride. I will borrow a horse from Nettie, get you home, and then you go on back to your life, and I will go back to mine." Before he could even answer, she was gone. He understood right then that Clara was used to people leaving her. She expected him to do the same. Later that night, Clara sat by the creek thinking she had made a terrible mistake. He knew where she lived now. He would go back to Copper Springs and tell everyone about the strange healer woman out on the ridge, the one they all called a witch. She pulled out her mama's old handkerchief, tracing the faded yellow daisies with her thumb. "You always said kindness comes back around, Mama," she whispered to the stars. But the stars stayed quiet. When Clara returned to the cabin, Samuel was standing on the porch. "You should not be up," she told him. "Could not sleep," he said, leaning against a post. He looked right at her. "I was thinking about why a woman like you lives all alone out here. The kind of woman who saves a stranger and asks for nothing." She stood close enough now to see the silver in his dark hair and a scar on his forehead she had not noticed before. "What happened to you, Clara?" he asked softly. The question hung in the warm night air. She could have lied. She was good at lying. But the way he asked, like he truly wanted to know, made her tell the truth. "I was accused of something I did not do," she said, her voice low. "A long time ago, back east. I ran before they could punish me for it." "Were you guilty?" "No." "Then why run?" A bitter laugh escaped her. "Because the truth did not matter. The man who did it was rich and powerful. I was just the stepdaughter nobody wanted. And sometimes," she added, "innocent people get punished just the same as the guilty ones." Samuel thought on that for a long moment. "What about here?" he finally asked. "What do they say about you in town?" "They call me a witch," she said with a shrug. "They say I curse their wells and spoil their milk. They say whatever makes them feel better about hating someone they do not understand." He looked her straight in the eye. "Do you believe you deserve it? The hate? The loneliness?" The question hit her hard. No one had ever asked her that. "Some days," she admitted, "I think maybe they are right. Maybe something is wrong with me." Samuel slowly reached out and took her hand. "There is nothing wrong with you, Clara. Nothing at all is broken. I came back from the war with more ghosts than memories, feeling broken myself. My own wife, God rest her soul, had to help put me back together. I know what broken looks like. And it is not you." He shook his head. "You saved my life. You gave me your own bed and you never asked for a thing. That is the most whole thing I have seen in years." Clara felt her eyes begin to burn, but she refused to cry. "You should get some rest," she managed to say. "It is a long ride tomorrow." He did not let go of her hand. "Come with me." "What? To your ranch in Copper Springs?" "I have land. I have work. I have a spare room that has been empty for 5 years. Come with me, Clara. It is a job offer." She stared at the stranger who saw something worthwhile in her. "I cannot," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Why not?" "Because," she said, "if I go with you and those people turn on me again, I will not survive it. Not this time. Not after knowing what it feels like to be." The word caught in her throat. Samuel stepped closer. "To be what?" Clara closed her eyes and breathed out the single word. "Wanted." He gently cupped her cheek with his other hand. "Clara Mallister," he said, his voice firm, "I will not let anyone hurt you. Not as long as I am breathing. They will turn on you too for keeping company with the witch." "Then let them," he said. She opened her eyes. He meant it. Heaven help her, he truly meant every word. "1 week," she said. "I will come for 1 week to see how it goes." "And if it does not work out," he promised, "I will bring you right back here myself. no questions asked. "All right," she agreed with a shaky breath. Samuel broke into a real smile, one that made him look younger and full of hope. "We leave at first light," he said. Morning arrived hot and bright. Clara packed her few belongings while Samuel waited on the porch. Old Nettie had sent over a gentle horse just after dawn. As Clara tied her bag to the saddle, she asked, "Are you sure about this?" Samuel stood up, a little unsteady but on his own 2 feet. "I am sure. I have survived worse than a 3-mile ride, and I am not letting you face that town alone. Not now. Not ever." Something deep inside her chest, a feeling she had locked away for years, shifted. "All right," she said quietly. "Let us go home." The word felt foreign on her tongue. She had not had a home in a very long time. Samuel climbed onto the horse, then reached down and offered her his hand. She took it, swinging up to sit behind him. As she wrapped her arms around his waist, they turned the horse toward Copper Springs, and whatever was waiting for them there. For the first time in 6 long years, Clara allowed herself to hope. The ride was slow. Samuel's wound bothered him with every step the horse took, but he never complained once. When they finally reached the top of the ridge, Copper Springs lay below them in the afternoon sun. Clara's arms tightened around Samuel without her even realizing it. "Just breathe," he said quietly. "I am breathing. You are holding on like we are about to fall off a cliff." "Maybe I am," she whispered. He covered her hands with one of his own. "I meant what I said, Clara. Nobody's going to hurt you. Not while I am here." She wanted to believe him. Lord, she wanted to believe him so badly it was an ache inside her. But she knew that town, and she knew the hateful looks they would give her. Every stare in Copper Springs felt like a hot needle on Clara's skin. As they rode down the main street, the whole town seemed to stop and watch. Porch brooms went still. Newspapers lowered. A couple of ladies at the general store fell silent, their heads turning like owls. "Well, I'll be," someone muttered. "That's Samuel Brennan. And is that the witch woman with him?" The whispers buzzed around them like horseflies. Samuel pulled the horse up at the doctor's office. He got down, then held out his hand to her. "Take it," he said, his voice low. "Let him look." She glanced at his hand, then at the prying eyes in every window. Let them wonder. She took his hand. He didn't let go. Instead, he faced the street, holding her hand firm, and stared down every last person until they turned away. One by one, their gazes dropped. "Come on," he said softly. "The doc needs to see to this." Dr. Whitmore, a man with kind eyes who had been in town for 30 years, looked up as they came in. His eyebrows shot up. "Samuel Brennan, we all figured you were dead." "Not quite," Samuel said. The doctor's eyes flicked to Clara. "Mallister, isn't it?" "She saved my life," Samuel stated plainly. "Found me by the creek and stitched me up herself." The doctor's whole manner changed. He looked at Clara with a newfound respect. After checking the clean stitch work, he admitted, "That's fine work. Where did you learn it?" "My mother was a healer," she said, her voice tight. The doctor cleaned the wound, gave Samuel some laudanum for the pain, and refused any payment. When they stepped back outside, trouble was waiting. Ezra Harwell, a big man with a soft belly and hard eyes, came out of the bank. "Samuel," he said, his voice slick as oil. "Heard you had some trouble." "Word travels," Samuel answered flatly. Harwell's eyes slid over to Clara. "Miss Mallister. Didn't figure on seeing you in town." "I imagine not," she replied. "Some folks find it peculiar, a woman living alone out on the ridge," Harwell went on, a smirk playing on his lips. "We have business, Ezra," Samuel said, stepping between them. "Just being neighborly," Harwell said, his smile never reaching his cold eyes. "You know how this town can talk." "I know exactly how it talks." The two men locked eyes, a whole history of bad blood passing between them. Finally, Harwell tipped his hat. "Welcome back, Samuel." As they walked away, Clara could feel his stare burning into her back. What was that about? She asked inside the store. Samuel started gathering supplies, his motions sharp. Harwell's been trying to buy my land for 3 years now, he said after a moment. I keep telling him no. Why does he want it so badly? Water, Samuel said. My creek waters half this valley. If he controls my land, he controls who gets water and who goes thirsty. Clara saw it instantly. And then he'd own this whole town. You're a smart woman, he said. Is that why you were attacked? His hands paused over a sack of sugar. I don't know, he said slowly. But I'm sure fixin' to find out. The woman at the counter, Mrs. Bell, glared at them. That will be $3.20, she said, looking right through Clara. Samuel counted out the money. And add another 50 cents for whatever Miss Mallister here needs. Mrs. Bell's lips thinned. We don't serve her kind. Her kind. Samuel's voice was dangerously quiet. You just insulted the woman who saved my life, and you're refusing a paying customer. If my wife were still with us, she would be ashamed of you. The woman's face turned beet red. Samuel grabbed their things and took Clara's arm. We're done here. Outside, Clara's heart was pounding. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did, he said, stopping to face her. I've spent 5 years hiding from the world. I am not hiding anymore, and I will not let you hide either. Why? She whispered. Why do you care? His face softened. Because when I was dying in that field, you were the only one who bothered to stop. You saw a man worth saving when anyone else would have just passed by. That means something. Her eyes started to burn. We should go, she managed. Trouble's just getting started, he said with a small smile. They rode out to his ranch, a simple house with a big porch and fences that needed mending. It was quiet. It is not much, he said, getting down from his horse. It is beautiful, she said. Clara slid down and took a deep breath, smelling the grass and the cattle. It smelled like freedom. I think it is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. He watched her, a look of wonder and maybe a little fear on his face. Come on inside, he said gently. The house was simple and clean. He saw her looking at 2 chairs at the kitchen table. That was Margaret's chair, he said quietly. I want you to understand. This place was our new start after the war. We were going to raise a family here. His voice broke. The fire took them. My wife, Margaret, and our little girl, Lily. I was away driving cattle. When I got back, there was nothing left but ash. I should have been here. Clara walked over and took his shaking hands in hers. It was not your fault. How can you know that? Because I know that bad things happen for no reason at all, she said. And I know that carrying guilt over something you could not control will eat you alive. I know, because I've been carrying my own guilt for 10 years and I am just so tired of being ashamed for things I never did. Between them. Out in the distance, a lone cow called out. Inside that quiet house, something old and hurtin' started to mend. The spare rooms are down the hall, Samuel finally said. It is not much, but they are yours for as long as you need. 1 week, Clara said, reminding him of their deal. They both knew, standing there with their hands still woven together, that a single week was never going to be enough. The first 2 days were a whirlwind of hard work. Clara dove into the ranch chores like her very life was on the line. She mended fences and fed the chickens, scrubbing floors that had not seen a mop in years. Samuel watched her with a mix of thanks and worry. You do not have to do all this, he told her on the second night, finding her elbow deep in suds. I have to earn my keep. You have already earned it 10 times over. Clara wrung out a rag, not looking at him. I do not know how to just be still. I do not know how to sit and not wait for the other shoe to drop. Samuel pulled up a chair across from her. What are you scared of? Everything, the word slipped out. I am scared of staying and I am scared of leaving. I am scared that any second someone will tell you what they really think of me, and you will see you made a mistake." Her voice cracked. "I am afraid to hope. I am afraid that if I let myself think this is real, it will all just vanish." Samuel reached over and gently took the rag from her hands. He set it down, then took her damp hands in his own. "I am not going anywhere," he said, "and neither are you. Not unless you want to. You barely know me. I know enough, and what you have told me does not scare me. You do not know the whole story." "Then tell me," he said, his grip a little tighter. "Tell me all of it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Tell me what you are running from." Clara just looked at him. Nobody had ever asked her that before. Nobody had ever wanted to know the truth. "My stepfather framed me," she said, her voice low. "He was stealing from my mother's store. When he got caught, he pointed the finger at me." Samuel's jaw set hard, but he stayed quiet. "My mother knew the truth. I saw it in her eyes, but she was too scared of him to say a word. Too scared of what he would do to her." Clara's voice turned cold and empty. "So, she just let them arrest me. She let them drag me through the streets and call me a thief." "How did you get away?" "I ran. The night before the trial, I climbed out a window and just ran. I did not stop until I reached the territories." She gave a bitter laugh. "I thought I could start over." In the past, she had always just accepted it. She stopped trying to explain herself, but Samuel was different. As they rode on, he spoke again, his voice rough with emotion. "For 5 years after my wife died, I believed I did not deserve to be happy. I thought I was being punished for the things I had done in the war. I believed that until I woke up in your cabin. You did not just save my life, Clara. You saved a part of me I thought was gone forever." He raised her hand to his lips and pressed a gentle kiss to her knuckles. "I am not letting that go," he said. "Not without a fight." At that moment, watching the town draw closer, Clara knew she was not just riding toward a new job. She was riding toward a chance at a new life with a man who was willing to fight for her, and this time she would not be fighting alone. Clara heard the riders first, 3 of them kicking up dust as they came hard down the road. "Samuel!" she called out. He came out of the barn, squinting into the bright sun. His whole manner changed when he saw it was Ezra Harwell leading the other 2 men. They were the kind of big, mean-looking fellas who acted first and asked questions later. Harwell swung down from his horse. "Afternoon, Samuel. Just paying a neighborly call." Samuel stood his ground. "There is nothing neighborly about you, Ezra." Harwell just smiled, that snake-like smile of his. "Always to the point. I like that." His gaze slid over to Clara. "I see Miss Mallister is getting settled in." Clara said nothing, just moved to stand beside Samuel. "What do you want, Ezra?" Samuel asked. "Same thing I always want. Your land, your water, your name on a deed." "And my answer is the same as it always is, no." Harwell sighed, acting like a patient teacher with a stubborn student. "I was hoping your recent troubles might have helped you see things differently. It can be mighty dangerous out here for a man all by himself." Samuel went rigid. "What are you trying to say?" "I am saying bad things happen," Harwell said, spreading his hands. "Fires start. Fences get cut. It would be a real shame if something worse were to happen." "Are you threatening me?" "I am offering you protection, a fair price for this place, and a fresh start somewhere new." Harwell's smile got wider. "Think of it as me doing you a kindness." Clara felt Samuel tense up beside her and put a steadying hand on his arm. "I do not need your protection," Samuel said, his voice low and dangerous. "And I sure do not need your kindness. What I need is for you to get off my land before I forget my manners." Harwell's smile never left his face, but his eyes turned cold as ice. "You are making a mistake, Samuel. You and your little friend." He looked at Clara with pure disgust. "The whole town is already talking. They are saying you've gone soft, taken up with that witch woman. Some are wondering if you lost your mind right along with your wife." Samuel moved so fast, Clara barely saw it happen. 1 second he was next to her, the next he had Harwell by the collar, lifting him clean off the ground. "Do not you ever speak about my wife again," Samuel snarled. "Do not you ever speak about Clara again. And if I find out you had anything to do with what happened to me on that road, I will end you. Do you understand me?" Harwell's men started to move, their hands going for their guns. "Samuel!" Clara's voice cut through the tension. Samuel stood his ground a long moment before he finally let Harwell go. Shaking but full of hate, Harwell straightened his collar. "You'll live to regret this," he snarled. "Both of y'all get off my property." He climbed on his horse and rode off with his men, their trail of dust hanging in the air like a curse. Clara finally spoke once they were gone. "That was a fool thing to do." "I don't care," Samuel said, turning to her. His eyes weren't angry or scared. They held something else entirely. "He don't get to threaten you. He don't get to talk about Margaret that way. And he sure as heck don't get to act like he owns my land. He could ruin us, Samuel. Let him try." "You don't get it," Clara insisted. "Men like him, they don't fight fair. They wait and strike when your back is turned." "Then we'll be watching," Samuel said, taking her hands. "We, you and me. That's how it is now." She wanted to tell him he was being a fool, that she wasn't worth it. But looking in his eyes, she saw what she'd always been looking for, a man who would stand up for her. "Together," she whispered. He pulled her in, and she felt the strong, steady beat of his heart. "Together," he said again. Up above, a lone hawk circled on the hot Texas wind. Sleep wouldn't come for Clara that night. She listened to the ranch settle, the crickets, the wind, the lowing of distant cattle. Then she heard footsteps, and her heart jumped. They stopped right outside her door, followed by a soft knock. "Clara?" Samuel's voice was low. "You up?" She opened the door to find him standing there, his hair a mess and his eyes full of worry. Couldn't sleep either, she guessed. Kept thinking about Harwell. And you. Clara held her breath. "What about me?" He raked a hand through his hair. "What he said, about this town not being safe for you. I know you ain't been safe anywhere." "That's what's eating at me," he admitted, meeting her gaze. "I don't want this ranch to be just another place that hurts you, another place you gotta run from." Clara moved a little closer. She saw the fear in his eyes was for her, not of her. "I'm tired of running," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Tired of being scared, and I am done pretending I don't feel what I'm feeling." "And what is that?" The question hung in the air. She reached out, her palm resting against the roughness of his beard. His eyes searched hers for an answer. "I feel like I'm on a cliff's edge," she breathed. "And I don't know if I'm fixing to fall or fly." Samuel placed his hand over hers. "Well then, let's find out." He kissed her softly, carefully, like she was the most precious thing in the world. And when Clara kissed him back, 10 years of running finally came to an end. The week flew by. They found a rhythm, Samuel with the cattle and Clara with a new herb garden. They ate together each night, learning each other's ways. On the last evening, Clara found him on the porch. "Week's up," she said. "I know, reckon I should head back." "Reckon so." Neither of them made a move. "Or," Samuel started, "you could stay." Clara just looked at him. "For how long?" "As long as you want. As long as you'll have me. Folks will talk." "Let 'em. Harwell will cause a fuss." "Let him." "Samuel," she pleaded. "Clara," he said, taking her hand. "I've been alone 5 years. 5 years grieving, thinking I didn't deserve a second chance. Then you showed up and pulled me out of it. All my reasons for being alone suddenly seem mighty foolish." Tears welled in her eyes. I'm broken. So am I. I'm not easy. I've noticed. I don't know how to be loved. He lifted her hand and kissed it gently. Then let me teach you. The tears fell then. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I'll stay. He pulled her into a hug, and with her head on his chest, Clara Mallister finally felt she was home. But 3 miles away in the back of the Copper Springs Bank, Ezra Harwell was hatching a plan. By the next day, Clara's newfound peace would be shattered. She woke just before dawn with Samuel's arm around her. For 1 perfect second, she let herself believe it could last. Then Scout started barking his head off. Samuel was out of bed in a flash, grabbing the rifle. "Stay put," he ordered. Like heck she would. They moved through the quiet house together, the dogs barking, getting more frantic. Samuel swung the front door open to an empty yard. "Scout," he called out. "Come here, boy." The barking stopped. A moment later, the old dog came limping from behind the barn, whining, his tail tucked low. Clara rushed to him. "He's hurt." Blood stained the fur on his side. It was a long, ugly gash. "Someone was here," Samuel said, his voice like iron. Clara checked the wound. "This was no accident. Somebody cut him." "Harwell." "We don't know that for sure." "I know," Samuel said, his jaw tight. "I know exactly who did it." Clara bandaged the wound with a strip from her dress. "We need real medicine," she said. "I'll ride into town." "Samuel, no." "I'll be fine," he promised, touching her face. "Lock the doors. Don't open them for anyone till I'm back." She knew it was a trap, but Scout needed medicine. "Be careful," was all she could say. He kissed her forehead. "Always." She watched him ride off, then locked the door tight and began to pray. Samuel was halfway to town when he noticed the 2 riders behind him. They kept their distance, but he recognized the big one with the scarred nose from Harwell's crew. Samuel just kept a steady pace, his hand near his rifle. They didn't get closer. They just watched. Copper Springs was dead quiet when he got there, far too quiet for a morning. The streets were empty. He tied his horse and walked into the general store. Mrs. Bell looked up and all the color drained from her face. "Mr. Brennan," she said, her voice thin and shaky. "Didn't expect you. Need some bandages and carbolic acid if you have it." I don't think... Is something wrong, Mrs. Bell?" Her eyes darted toward the window. "You need to leave, Mr. Brennan. You take that woman with you and get out of this town today." Samuel stood rigid. "What are you talking about?" "I can't say no more. I shouldn't have..." She stopped dead when the door opened. Deputy Frank Hollister walked in, his hand on his gun. "Samuel Brennan." "Frank," Samuel acknowledged. "What can I do for you?" "Need you to come with me. The sheriff wants a word." "About what?" Hollister's jaw set. "Just come along, please." That tone told Samuel all he needed to know. This was no friendly chat. He followed the deputy to the sheriff's office, his mind racing, wondering what lies Harwell had cooked up this time. Sheriff Morgan looked like he'd been sheriff for all of his 15 years. Every single one showed on his tired face. "Samuel," he said, pointing to a chair. "Sit." "I'll stand." Morgan sighed. "All right. I'll get to it. We've had a few complaints, from Harwell mostly." He held up a piece of paper. "They're claiming that woman of yours poisoned the Morrison well. Says she killed 3 of their chickens and got their kids sick." Samuel let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard." "Is it?" the sheriff asked. "Clara's been on my ranch a week. She ain't been near the Morrisons." "Folks say different. Say they saw her gathering plants near their property 2 days ago." "Then folks are lying." Tension. "6 people are saying she has been practicing witchcraft and making deals with the devil." "You cannot possibly believe that." "What I believe does not matter," Morgan said, his voice hard. "What matters is keeping the peace. And right now, that woman is a threat to the peace." Samuel slammed his hand down on the desk. She saved my life. She dragged me 10 miles through the heat when anyone else would have left me for dead. And this is how you repay her? Calm down, Samuel. I will not calm down. Samuel was shaking with rage. You know this is Harwell's doing. You know he has been trying to run me off my land for years, and now you are helping him do it. Morgan stood up slow. Watch yourself, Samuel. Do not make me do something we will both regret. Where is she? Samuel demanded. Where is Clara right now? Morgan's silence was all the answer he needed. Samuel was out the door before anyone could move. He ran toward the town square, his boots pounding on the boardwalk. People jumped out of his way. Then he saw her. Clara was in the middle of the square, her hands tied. A rope connected her to the back of a wagon. Her dress was torn, and blood trickled from a cut on her cheek. Her beautiful hair had been chopped off, short and jagged. A crowd had gathered to watch her like she was some kind of show. Samuel saw red. Clara! She looked up, and their eyes locked across that dusty square. In that moment, he saw something he would never forget. It was not fear. It was not shame. It was just a weary acceptance, like she had always known it would come to this. He pushed his way through the crowd, shoving people aside. Get away from her, he growled. Ezra Harwell stepped forward, smiling that slick smile of his. Now, Samuel, let's not be hasty. I said get away from her. This woman is a criminal, Harwell announced to the crowd. A witch. The good people of this town have a right to protect themselves. She has done nothing wrong. The evidence says otherwise, Harwell said. Multiple witnesses, poisoned wells. He turned to Clara. Tell them, Samuel pleaded. Tell them you did not do it. Clara's voice was quiet but steady. I did not do it. I have never been near their well. I do not know anything about their children. She is a liar, a woman screamed. It was Constance Harwell, her face twisted with pure hate. She killed my daughter. She just let her die when she could have saved her. Samuel froze. What? 3 years ago? A woman named Constance pushed forward, her voice raw with grief. My Emily was burning with fever. We begged this woman to help. We pleaded with her, and she turned us away. 2 days later, my baby girl was gone. Clara closed her eyes, the memory still sharp as glass. I could not save her. The fever was too strong. Nothing anyone could have done. You did not even try, Constance accused. I tried everything, Clara's voice trembled. I used every herb I had. I worked all night on every remedy I knew, but some things cannot be fixed, no matter how much we wish they could be. Constance lunged, her hands reaching for Clara's neck. 2 men grabbed her and pulled her back. You killed her! You murdered my baby! And now you are killing this town! The crowd was turning into an angry mob. Samuel could feel the hate building. This is pure foolishness, he said, his voice ringing out. You are all fixing to blame an innocent woman for your own grief and fear. She's not innocent, someone hollered. She's a witch! Burn her! Samuel stepped right in front of Clara, using his own body as a shield. If you want to get to her, you will have to go through me first. The crowd paused for a second. Samuel Brennan was a good man, a man they respected. But Harwell was not finished. Samuel, he said, his voice smooth and reasonable, think about what you are doing. This woman has put a spell on you, clouded your judgment. Can you not see she is just using you? The only one using anybody here is you, Harwell. I am trying to help you, Harwell said, stepping closer. Give her up. Let the town handle it. I promise no one will blame you. We all understand how a lonely man can be fooled by a pretty face. Samuel's fist hit Harwell's jaw before he even thought about it. Harwell went down hard, blood flying from his mouth. The crowd let out a collective gasp. Samuel, no, Clara cried out, but it was already done. Harwell's men closed in, surrounding them. Arrest him, Harwell sputtered, getting to his feet. You all saw it. He assaulted me. Deputy Hollister stepped forward, his face full of trouble. "Samuel, I have got to—" "Do not do this, Frank. I do not have a choice." They yanked Samuel's arms behind his back. Clara screamed his name. "Let him go," she pleaded. "He did not do anything wrong. I am the one you want." Harwell wiped the blood from his chin with the back of his hand and smiled. "Oh, we want both of you." He turned back to the angry crowd. You see how she has corrupted him? A good man, turned to violence by her witchcraft. That is not true. Lock them both up," Harwell commanded. "We will have a proper trial. Let the judge sort it out." "There is no judge," Samuel yelled as they dragged him away. "The circuit judge is not due for another month." "Then I reckon you will have plenty of time to think about your choices." They hauled Samuel toward the jail, but they took Clara to a different wagon. "Where are you taking her?" Samuel shouted. "Somewhere safe," Harwell said, his grin widening. "Somewhere she cannot hurt anyone else. If you so much as touch her." "You will what?" Harwell leaned in close. "You are in no position to be making threats, Samuel. You should have taken my offer." The last thing Samuel saw was Clara's pale face disappearing around the corner. Then the cell door slammed shut, and a deep darkness swallowed him whole. He did not know if hours or days passed. He paced the tiny cell like a trapped wolf, his mind imagining the worst. What were they doing to Clara? Where was she? Was she even still alive? The door creaked open, and a sliver of light cut through the gloom. A boy stepped inside, maybe 13 years old, with dark hair and even darker eyes. "Mr. Brennan," the boy whispered. "My name is Jake Moreno." "What do you want, son?" "I have come to help you." Jake looked over his shoulder nervously. "Miss Clara, she saved my life once. I had the fever real bad. My mama works for the Harwells, but I know what is true. Miss Clara never hurt a soul." Samuel pressed himself against the iron bars. "Where is she, Jake? Where have they taken her?" "They have got her in the old abandoned barn, the one out by Miller's Creek." The boy's hands were shaking. "They are telling everyone there will be a trial tomorrow, but it is a lie. I heard Mr. Harwell talking. He is not planning any trial." Samuel's blood turned to ice in his veins. "What is he planning?" He said that accidents can happen. He said nobody would ask any questions if a witch died while trying to escape." Samuel gripped the bars so hard his knuckles turned white. "You have got to get me out of here." "I cannot. Deputy Hollister has the only set of keys." "Then get Hollister. Tell him what you told me. Tell him if he lets Harwell murder an innocent woman, he will have to carry that weight for the rest of his life." Samuel's voice was breaking. "Please, son. Tell him I am begging." Jake nodded once and slipped back out into the night. Samuel waited. Every minute felt like an hour. Then he heard footsteps and the welcome jingle of keys. Hollister's tired face appeared. "You know this is wrong, Frank," Samuel said. "You know she is innocent." Hollister was quiet for a long time. "The well went dry because of the drought. I checked it myself. It was never poisoned." "Then why are you letting this happen?" "Because Harwell owns this town," Hollister said, his voice laced with bitterness. "He owns the bank, the general store, half the land in this valley. When he tells folks to jump, they do not ask why, they ask how high." "So you are just going to let him kill her?" "No," Hollister said, pulling out the keys. "I am going to let you save her." The cell door swung open. "Your horse is tied up behind the livery. Miller's Creek is a 20-minute ride if you push it." Samuel put a hand on Hollister's shoulder. "Thank you." "Do not thank me yet," the deputy said, pressing a heavy pistol into Samuel's hand. "Just bring her back safe." Samuel rode like a man possessed, with the devil himself at his heels. The sun was gone, leaving streaks of orange and red across the western sky. Every beat of his horse's hooves was a prayer. Please let her be alive. The old barn loomed out of the twilight. He slid off his horse and crept forward, pistol ready. The door was hanging crooked. He pushed it open, and his heart stopped dead in his chest. There she was. Clara was hanging from a ceiling beam, her hands tied above her head. Her face was bruised and swollen, but he could see the gentle rise and fall of her chest. She was breathing. Thank God she was still breathing. "Clara," he whispered, running to her. "I am here. I have got you." You ever see a good man get pushed too far? This is a story about what happens when you do not back down. It is about Samuel, who found Clara tied up and left for dead. Her eyes opened and found his face. "Samuel," she whispered, "you are here." He worked at the stiff ropes. "Where else would I be? I will always come for you." The knots came loose, and she fell into his arms. He held her tight. "I was afraid you would believe them," she cried softly. "Never," he said, touching his forehead to hers. Her hands grabbed his shirt. "They are coming back, Harwell and his boys. They aim to finish it tonight." Samuel lifted her up. She felt light as a feather. Outside, the thunder of hooves rolled across the field. "They are here," she breathed. He saw 6 riders closing in, too many to fight. He put her on his horse and got on behind her. "Hold on tight," he said. "Do not you let go." They spurred the horse into the night with a posse right on their tail. "Hold on!" Samuel yelled, cutting left toward the ridge. The horse nearly went down but kept its feet. A pistol shot rang out. Clara jumped. "You hit!" he yelled. "No, go!" Another shot whizzed right past his ear. "This horse is tired," Clara said, her voice tight with fear. "We do not need to outrun them," he answered. "Just need to make it to the ranch." "What is there?" "My rifle and a solid wall." They topped the ridge and saw his place, quiet under the moon. 3 minutes, maybe less. The riders were close enough to hear them hollering now. 2 of Harwell's boys split off, trying to head them off at the road. Samuel did not even slow down. He aimed his horse right between them and kicked hard. The men brought up their guns. Samuel fired his pistol 3 times. One man screamed and toppled from his horse. The other's horse bucked him off. They shot through the gap and raced for home. They were almost there. 50 yards, then 40. Samuel reined in hard by the porch and helped Clara down. "Inside now." She hurried through the door. Samuel grabbed his rifle from its hiding spot and slammed the door shut behind them. "Lock everything," he told her. He took up a spot by the window, his rifle ready. The riders had stopped at his property line. They just sat there on their horses. "What are they doing?" Clara whispered. "Deciding if they want to die tonight." One man got down. It was Harwell. He walked toward the house with his hands up. "Samuel Brennan," he called out. "Let us talk this out." Samuel scoffed. "Ain't nothing civilized about you, Harwell." "I am unarmed. Just talk." "Do not go out there," Clara pleaded. "Was not fixin' to," Samuel said. He yelled back, "Say your piece from where you stand." Harwell stopped short of the porch. "This can end peaceful, Samuel." "You tell that to Clara." "That was a misunderstanding," Harwell said. Samuel's finger tightened on the trigger. "Get off my land." "I am offering you a way out," Harwell said, spreading his hands. "Give me the woman and you can walk away. We will forget the whole thing." Clara let out a small, hurt sound. Samuel's voice was like ice. "You think I would hand her over to you?" "I think you know when you are beat," Harwell said. "Then you do not know me at all." Harwell's friendly act vanished. "You are making a fatal mistake, Brennan." "Maybe so," Samuel replied. "But I will make it on my own 2 feet." Harwell turned and stomped back to his men. "What now?" Clara asked. "Now we wait." The waiting ended when a torch flew through the window. Samuel put it out, but another one landed, then a third. "They are trying to burn us out," he yelled. "Get water!" They fought the flames, but the old house was dry as tinder. The smoke got thick, choking them. "We have to get out," Clara coughed, her eyes streaming. "That is what they are waiting for," Samuel said. "So, what do we do?" The flames licked up the walls. Samuel looked around, his eyes wild. Then he remembered. The root cellar. Margaret made me dig a tunnel for emergencies. His voice broke for a second. Come on. He pulled her toward the kitchen, the floor hot under their boots. He kicked a rug aside, revealing the cellar door, and pulled it open. Go. I am right behind you. Clara scrambled down into the blackness. Samuel followed, slamming the heavy door just as the roof gave way above them. It was pitch black in the narrow tunnel. Samuel, she whispered. I am here. His voice came from the dark. Just keep crawling. The tight space seemed endless, and every inch was agony for her. I cannot, she gasped. Yes, you can, he said, his voice firm. You are stronger than you know. Now keep moving. So she did. Her hand found solid wood. It was a door. She shoved it, and the thing swung open into the cool night. They came out behind the barn, hidden from Harwell's men. Off in the distance, the house was a raging bonfire, its flames licking at the dark sky. My home, Samuel said, his voice barely a whisper. Clara gave his hand a squeeze. I am sorry. Don't be, he said, pulling her up. It was just a building. Can you walk? I reckon so. Good, 'cause we are not finished here. They slipped through the shadows, making a wide circle around the barn toward Harwell's crew. The riders were just sitting there, watching the fire, certain their problems were turning to ash inside. Samuel took a quick count. 5 of them. What is the plan? Clara breathed. Got a shotgun in the barn for dealing with coyotes. 5 against 2 is mighty long odds. Maybe so, Samuel said. But they think we are dead. That counts for something. They found a side door and crept inside. The shotgun was right where he left it, loaded and ready. You stay put, he told her. No, she said, her voice like flint. I am done hiding. I am done letting other men fight my fights. Samuel just looked at her, this woman who'd been beaten and nearly broken, still standing tall. All right, he said, but you get behind me. They stepped out of the barn. Harwell. The men spun around, shock plain on their faces. How did you? That does not matter now, Samuel said, raising the shotgun. What matters is what happens next. Harwell got over his surprise right quick, his hand drifting toward his pistol. I would not do that, Samuel warned. This scattergun will cut you clean in 2 before your hand gets there. Harwell's hand froze. You are bluffing. Try me. The air grew tight, the only sound the crackle of the fire. You cannot win, Harwell said. My men will... Your men are cowards who follow the money, Samuel cut in. You take away the man signing the checks, and they will scatter like roaches in the light. I have seen it before. These fellas are not soldiers, they are hired guns, and they will bolt the second things get tough. One of the riders shifted in his saddle. Another shot a look at his partner. Harwell saw it too. Do not even think it, he snarled. It is over, Ezra, Samuel said, taking a step forward. The sheriff knows everything. Deputy Hollister is the one who let me out. By sunup, this whole town will know you tried to burn an innocent woman alive. She is not innocent. She is a damn sight more innocent than you will ever be. Clara came to stand beside Samuel, her face bruised, but her voice clear. Your wife blames me for your little girl's passing, she said to Harwell. I know grief can make a person do awful things. But I did not kill Emily. I tried to save her. I was up all night with her, trying every remedy I knew, praying. When she passed, I cried for her like she was my own child. Harwell's face twisted in anger. You are lying. No, and somewhere deep down you know it. You know that fever had her before I ever laid eyes on her. But it is easier to blame me than to accept that sometimes things just happen. And there is nothing nobody can do. Shut up, he growled. "You have hunted me for 3 years. For what? So you could ruin my life? Does that help your daughter rest any easier?" "I said, shut up!" Harwell yanked his pistol. The shotgun roared. The blast caught Harwell in the shoulder and threw him to the ground. His gun went flying. For a long second, no one moved. Then one of the riders wheeled his horse around and took off. The others were right behind him, leaving Harwell there bleeding in the dirt. Samuel lowered the shotgun and walked over to the fallen man. Harwell was clutching his shoulder, his face a mask of pain and something else. Relief. "Do it," he choked out. "Finish it." Samuel stood over him, the barrel aimed at his chest, his finger on the trigger. "Samuel," Clara's voice was soft but steady behind him. "Do not. He deserves it. Maybe he does. But you do not deserve to carry that weight for the rest of your life. After all he has done, let him live with it. Let him wake up every single morning knowing this whole town sees him for the monster he is. That is a fate worse than dying, Samuel. Trust me." Samuel's hands trembled. Every part of him wanted to end it right there. But he looked at Clara. She was not asking him to save Harwell for Harwell's sake. She was asking him to save himself. Slowly, he lowered the gun. "You are finished, Harwell," he said, his voice flat. "No more terrorizing folks. No more buying silence. You are done." Harwell just glared up at him, full of hate. Samuel turned his back, took Clara's hand, and they walked away from the burning embers of his home, away from the man in the dirt, away from all of it. The sun was just peeking over the hills of Copper Springs when they got to Old Nettie's. She took one look at them, covered in soot and blood, and pulled them inside without a single question. She gently cleaned Clara's wounds, made them drink hot tea, and found them a quiet place to finally rest. Clara slept for 16 solid hours. When she opened her eyes, Samuel was sitting right there, just watching her. "Hey," she whispered. "Hey yourself," he said, brushing her hair back. "How are you feeling?" "Like I was tied to a horse and dragged halfway across the county." She tried to manage a smile. "So what happened?" "Hollister arrested Harwell. Found letters in his office that proved he hired those men. Turns out he has been bullying people for years, arranging accidents for anyone who stood in his way." Samuel's voice went soft. "Mrs. Harwell came by this morning. She wanted to see you." Clara went stiff. "What for?" "To apologize. She said her heart knew you tried to save Emily, but her grief made her blind." Tears welled up in Clara's eyes and slipped down her cheeks. "I wanted to save her so much," she whispered. "I know," Samuel said, taking her hand. "But sometimes wanting is not enough. That does not mean you ever stop trying." They just lay there for a while as the room filled with morning light. Outside, the town was coming to life with the sounds of birds and laughing children. "What do we do now?" she asked. "Whatever we want," he said, raising her hand to his lips. "The land is still mine. The cattle are fine. We can build it all back." "We? You did not think I was letting you go, did you?" Clara looked right at him. "Your house burned down because of me. A house is just wood and nails. We can build another one. People will still talk. Then let 'em talk." "Samuel." He moved closer and cupped her face with his hands. "Clara, I spent 5 years feeling like I was already dead. And then you showed up and pretty much dragged me back into the world of the living. You think I'm going to let a little gossip chase me away from that?" "I do not know how to do this," she confessed. "How to just be happy and trust it will last." "Me neither," he said. "But I figure we can learn how together." Clara looked deep into his eyes, searching for any hint of doubt. She found none. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay. Let us rebuild." Samuel broke into a real smile, the kind that lit up his whole face, and he kissed her. "That is my girl," he murmured. Clara laughed, a real honest-to-goodness laugh. I ain't anybody's girl, she said. No, you are your own. Samuel shook his head. No, ma'am, you are Clara Mallister, the most courageous, stubborn, and lovely woman I've ever known. You are just saying that. I am telling the truth. He kissed her, and a long-held ache in Clara's heart began to mend. While the town of Copper Springs faced a new day, two people found a fresh start. 3 weeks later, Samuel pounded the last nail into the porch rail. Clara watched from the door, coffee in hand. The house was still a work in progress, with half a roof and oilcloth for windows, but it was theirs. You missed a spot, she teased. He glanced up, sweat on his brow. I am joking. That is not a funny one. Your smiling face says different. It was true. He smiled a lot now, a warm light in his eyes, replacing the old hardness whenever he saw her. Come on and help me with these boards, he said. I am supervising. You are loafing. I am a woman recovering from trauma. You have been recovered for 2 weeks. Clara set her cup down and crossed the yard. Her body still remembered what Harwell's men did, but every day felt lighter. All right, fine, but you're getting any splinters out. It is a deal. They worked together under the hot sun, the sound of their hammers filling the air. Samuel, thank you, she said suddenly. He paused. For what? For this. For helping me believe in good things again. He put his hammer down and took her hands. Now you listen to me, Clara. I did not give you a thing. You earned every bit of this. Your strength, your grit, that was all you. But if you had not come along, you would have found another path. You always do. I was just the lucky one who got to be there. Her eyes started to well up. Now you are trying to make me cry. Good. You need to more often. I cry, she protested. Not where folks can see. He gently tilted her chin up. It is okay to be gentle sometimes, Clara. Things that don't make you weak. The tears finally came, streaming down her face no matter how hard she fought them. Samuel just pulled her in tight and held her. This time the tears weren't from sadness, but from a powerful feeling she couldn't name. Maybe it was hope. I love you, she breathed against his shirt. Samuel went stiff as a board. What did you just say? Clara pulled back, pure terror on her face. The words had just escaped. Nothing. I did not say a thing. Clara, please. His voice cracked. Say it again. She looked deep into his eyes and saw it all. The fear, the hope, and the desperate need to hear something he thought was gone forever. I love you, she said, clear as a bell. I love you, Samuel Brennan. He kissed her then, a kiss full of fire and hunger, and everything words could not say. When they finally broke for air, he grinned a little. I love you too, just in case that was not clear. She laughed and wiped her eyes. Might need to hear it one more time. I love you, Clara Mallister, and I will keep on saying it till you believe me. Just then, the sound of hoofbeats thundered down the road, coming in fast. Samuel went for his rifle, but Clara put a hand on his arm. Wait a second, it is Jake. The boy who helped them get away reined his horse to a dusty stop. Mr. Brennan, Miss Clara, you got to come to the church, quick. What is wrong? Samuel demanded. It is Mrs. Harwell. She's in there telling everyone what really happened. Clara's stomach hit the floor. What kind of things? Good things. Jake's eyes were lit up with excitement. She's telling the truth about her husband, how he tried to kill you and had been running folks off their land for years. Samuel and Clara shared a look of pure confusion. Why on earth would she do that? Clara asked. I do not know, but the whole town is there. You ought to come hear it for yourselves. They rode into Copper Springs with Clara's arms wrapped tight around Samuel's waist. The streets were empty as a ghost town. Everyone was packed into the church. They could hear Constance Harwell's voice before they even got to the doors. "I was blind," she was saying. "I let my husband use my grief as a weapon, and I am so deeply ashamed." Samuel pushed the doors open. Every head in that church snapped around to look at them. "Miss Mallister," Constance's voice shook. "Please, I have something I need to say to you." Clara froze. Samuel's hand found hers. "You do not have to," he said softly. "Yes," she said, her voice firm. "I do." She walked straight down that aisle, past the faces of people who had whispered lies about her for years. She walked right past the men who had tied her to that wagon. She stopped right in front of Constance Harwell. "You had something to say," Clara said, "so say it." Constance's eyes filled with tears. "I blamed you for my daughter's death. It was easier to hate a stranger, but I was wrong." Her voice broke into a sob. "Emily was already too sick. The doctor told me there was nothing anyone could do, but I refused to listen. I wanted someone to pay." Clara just waited. "You did not kill my daughter," Constance cried. "You tried to save her, and I repaid you by destroying your life." She fell right to her knees. "I am so sorry. I know words are not enough, but I am sorry." The church was dead silent. Every single eye was on Clara, looking down at the woman who had called her a witch and let her husband try to murder her. Clara should have felt pure rage, but all she felt was tired, just bone-tired of carrying so much anger. "Get up," Clara said quietly. Constance looked up, confused. "I said get up. You do not need to kneel for me." As Constance stood up, shaken, Clara took a breath. "I accept your apology." A quiet murmur went through the crowd. "But," Clara added, her voice strong, "accepting is not the same as forgetting. You hurt me. This whole town hurt me. That does not just disappear." Constance nodded, tears pouring down her face. "What I need," Clara said, looking out at all of them, "is time. Time to heal and to see if things have truly changed. Can you all give me that?" Silence hung in the air. Then from the back a voice called out, "I can." Old Nettie pushed through the crowd. "I have known this girl for 3 years. She has doctored my aches and helped birth more babies than I can count, and I never said one word to defend her when y'all were spreading lies. I was a coward, but I am not going to be a coward no more." Another voice spoke up. It was Mrs. Morrison. "My children were not sick from her. They just ate a bunch of green apples. The well was not poisoned, it just ran dry. I knew it, but I let Mr. Harwell convince me otherwise." She hung her head. "I am sorry, Miss Mallister." One by one, others stood up, admitting their guilt. Clara stood there at the front, completely overwhelmed. Samuel appeared at her side, solid as an old oak tree. "You okay?" he asked in a low voice. "I do not know," she whispered. "Is this real?" "It is real," he said, taking her hand. "You just breathe." The meeting went on for what felt like forever. When they finally walked out into the afternoon sun, the streets just felt different, lighter. "Clara!" Jake came running toward them, clutching a piece of paper. "My mama wanted you to have this. She is still too scared to say it herself." Clara unfolded the paper. It was a family recipe for cornbread. At the bottom in shaky letters were the words, "Thank you for saving my boy." Her eyes started to burn. "Tell your mama I said thank you." "I will," Jake grinned. "And Miss Clara, I am mighty glad you are staying." He ran off. Samuel led her to their horse. "Ready to go home?" "Home?" The word felt strange, like one she had forgotten. "Yeah," she said with a small smile. "I am ready." They rode back to the ranch as the sun set, painting the sky in gold and orange. Their dog Scout came limping out to greet them, his old wound now just a thin silver scar. Samuel helped her down and pulled her close. "What a day," he said. "Do you regret it? Any of it? Finding me, all the trouble that came after?" She put on a serious face. Well, getting beaten was not my favorite part, and the house burning down could have been skipped. He silenced her with a kiss. Smart Alec, he murmured against her lips. You love it. I do. His expression turned serious. Clara, I have to ask you something. Her heart skipped a beat. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a simple gold band worn smooth with age. This was Margaret's, he said quietly. It is the only thing I had left of her after the fire. Clara could not breathe. I have carried this for 5 years. I could not let it go. I could not move on. His voice was thick with emotion. But then I met you. You showed me that moving on does not mean forgetting. It means being brave enough to love again. Tears slid down Clara's cheeks. I am not asking you to replace her, he said. Nobody could. I am asking you to build something new with me. Something that belongs to us. He held out the ring. Clara Mallister, will you marry me? The word tumbled out before she could even think. Yes. He blinked. Yes, you fool. Yes, I will marry you. Yes to all of it. He slipped the ring onto her finger. It fit like it was made for her. Then he lifted her clean off her feet and spun her around, both of them laughing like kids. I love you, he said. I love you too. And I will keep on saying it. I love you, he said, and kissed her as the sun set. 3 weeks later, the entire town gathered for their wedding. Even Constance Harwell was there, a silent figure in the back row. Nettie had fashioned a simple white dress for Clara, who carried yellow daisies like the ones on her mother's handkerchief. Samuel watched her walk down the aisle like he was seeing a miracle. You look beautiful, he murmured. You are not so bad yourself, she whispered back. Their vows were simple and true. When the preacher declared them man and wife, Samuel's kiss made the whole church cheer. At the town celebration, folks who used to ignore Clara now welcomed her with open arms. It felt like she was living in a dream. You look a little overwhelmed, Deputy Hollister said from behind her. I am, she confessed. I just wanted to say I am sorry for not acting sooner against Harwell. You let Samuel out of that jail cell, she reminded him. You saved us. I should have done more. Maybe, she agreed. But you did the right thing when it mattered most. I'm tired of being angry anyway. She glanced over at Samuel, now her husband, talking with some ranchers. He caught her eye and smiled. He is a good man, Hollister noted. The best. You have been good for him. He seems more alive. Clara remembered finding him near death in that field, and how saving that stranger had ended up saving her, too. We are good for each other, she said softly. The party lasted long into the night. When it was all over, they walked home hand in hand. The new house, now completely finished, was waiting for them. It felt like home. Tired? Samuel asked on the porch. Exhausted. Fair enough, he chuckled. Inside, they settled in for the night, with Scout snoring by the embers. Curled up against his side in bed, she asked, Samuel, do you think Margaret would have liked me? He thought for a second. She would have loved you. You are both stubborn as all get out. So I have been told, she smiled. A comfortable quiet settled between them. Thank you, Clara whispered, for not giving up on us. He kissed her forehead. Thank you for pulling me out of that field. Why did you not walk away? He asked. She paused. Because you needed help, and I reckon a part of me knew that if I could save you, I might save myself too. His arm held her tighter. Did it work? She thought of all they had been through. Yeah, she whispered. I think it did. Before sunup, Clara went out to the porch holding her mother's handkerchief. I did it, Mama, she whispered to the wind. I found my place. She felt every bit of her journey, the sorrow and the happiness. The door creaked open, and Samuel sat beside her. "Morning. You all right?" "Better than all right." He took her hand, and they watched the dawn break. Clara considered all she had lost over the years: her home, her family, her reputation. But then she thought about all she had gained: Samuel, a home, and a town that was finally coming around. The future would not be easy, but for the first time she believed she could do more than just survive. She could truly live. "What is on your mind?" Samuel asked. She rested her head on his shoulder. "Second chances. I am awfully grateful for mine." He kissed her gently. "Me too." The morning sun washed over the new life they were building together. For 32 years, Clara Mallister thought happiness was for other folks. She was wrong. Sometimes life hands you a chance to be brave, like finding a stranger in a field. And if you take that chance, you just might find everything you never knew you needed. Clara had found Samuel. She had found a home. More than that, she had found herself. And that was worth it all. In the end, the woman who rescued a stranger was the same one who rescued herself, and the man who had lost it all learned that a second chance and true love was always worth the fight.